So thank you so much for everyone that's here today. We're so excited to have our speaker. And if you saw her at the conference last summer, you know that she is amazing. And what she talks about in reference to play is just outstanding. So we're very excited to have her here with us today. And let me get to her bio. All right, today we have with us Mrs. Anita Schlott. She has her BS in Early Childhood Education, her Master's in Gifted Education. She has 25 years experience as an owner, director, and teacher at Children's World Gateways to Learning Development Preschool in Edmond, Oklahoma. 4 years as kindergarten teacher in Edmond Public Schools, mother of 4, stepmother of 2, Nana to 8, ages 3 to 6. So she's busy. She's the author of the poem Just Playing from 1974, which she shared with us last summer, and it was amazing, and our students just loved it. She is the author of the book Just Playing, which was published in 2018. And again, she just has the most amazing ideas, and it's just so engaging. So Anita, welcome today. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much. And she's presenting at the conference again in August. So if you will go to the next slide. All right, I'm just going to let you read through this disclaimer, which says that an online degree from Ashford University does not lead to immediate teacher licensure in any state. So I will leave this up for just a few minutes so that you can read that. All right, next slide, please. We have one more disclaimer that says at Ashford University, any links or websites, institutions, pictures, Ashford is not responsible for any of those things that we use in the presentation today. So Anita, without further ado, I want to welcome your son. Anita's son joined us today too, so we're so excited for him to be here, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone. So we are going into an unusual fall, but oftentimes this time of year, parents are looking at preschool programs, kindergarten teachers perhaps, and Mother's Day Out programs for their children. So if you are one of those parents who are considering a school experience for your child in the fall, that's what we're going to be talking about today. The importance of a child's first away from home educational experience should not be minimized. How will you make that choice? On what basis will you choose one program over the other? Or perhaps you are an owner, director, or a teacher looking to attract students and parents to your preschool, kindergarten, or Mother's Day Out program. I would imagine having been an owner of a preschool program and a teacher and a director, I can imagine some of you are experiencing some stress right now, wondering whether you're going to be able to fill your programs next year, or are parents going to just choose to keep their kids at home. So I know that probably is a stressful time for you. So if this is a new program, you're also probably thinking about what are the things that you want to include in your curriculum and in your planning. You also want to know what kinds of things you want to highlight in your advertising on your Facebook page or on your website to draw parents to your program. So first we're going to talk about some of those factors. Number one, in determining factors might be the cost. Cost is determined by several things: the number of days and hours the child will attend, the location in the country, competition across town, the size of the program and the number of students that attend, your facilities, the number of children in a family, class size, and student-teacher ratio. You also, cost is also determinant on whether the program is in a church and is partially or wholly supported by the church. Is it a private-owned program like ours was? Is there any federal funding involved that would also affect the cost for the family? Ours was a half-day preschool program from 9 to 11:30 and 1 to 3:30, 2, 3, or 5 days a week. We also offered an optional out to lunch program where the morning children could bring their lunch 1 or 2 days a week and stay through the afternoon for the extended day. The second factor we might look at is the location of the school. Where it's located, is it convenient for the family? Is there safety in the area? Traffic going in and out are all things that come into that decision. The appearance of the building, is it inviting? Availability of a playground and outdoor space, perhaps indoor rainy day play space, paved areas for wheel toys, etc. Organized and safe drop-off and pickup is also important for parents. Number 3 would be the recommendations you might get from family and friends. It's important to get those opinions and to make your decision, but ultimately it should be the parent's decision. Children will make new friends even if their other friends are going to different schools. Be sure to understand why family or friends are recommending a certain school and consider if those reasons are or are not your top priorities. If you are marketing your school to others, it helps to have some recommendations from parents whose children have attended your school. You can put those on your website or with permission and include them in your printed materials. The next one is the reputation of the school. This too is important, but if the school is new, you will not be able to easily find that information. You may, however, be able to find background information on the owner, director, or teachers coming there. When you visit, be sure to ask about background checks done on the teachers and staff, licensing requirements, emergency procedures, etc. Take advantage of any open houses that a program may have around this time of year. As I've been driving around town, getting out a little bit, I've begun to see some signs up at some of the preschools here in town that they're having special open house nights or hours where parents can come in and look around. So those are very important when you're looking for a preschool. Pay close attention to what the school focuses on in their promotional materials. Is it academics, facilities, cost, teachers, curriculum, or the environment? Look at the kind of pictures they post online and what the children are doing. The number of years the school has been in operation may indicate the quality of the program, but don't disregard a new program in your search. The next is the qualifications of the staff. It's important for the staff to have training in appropriate early childhood practices. Degrees in early childhood education are preferable to simply an education degree or an art or music degree. It's also important that the director and the owner have appropriate developmental goals for the program and know how to hire good teachers, and that they love being with children. Having the director on site is a priority. Sometimes if there are multiple programs in a location or in an area, there might be a director that travels and is not always on site, and that would not be the preferable situation. You want to find a school with the most highly qualified teachers that you can afford. And lastly, curriculum and environment. Sadly, this may be the last, but perhaps most important aspect of choosing a program for your children. What will they do during the day that they're at school? Who will plan those activities and who will implement them? Here are my ABCs of an appropriate early childhood educational program for young children. So letter A stands for abilities. So as children come into your program, you want to have some way to get to know them, assess what their abilities are. Just grouping them by age group doesn't necessarily mean that all those children in that class are going to be on the same level. When I taught kindergarten, I had children all the way from children coming in who were still not completely potty trained, couldn't write their name, fell asleep when I was reading stories, to one year had a little boy come in who was reading chapter books. So imagine in a classroom of 22 kindergartners having everything between those two extremes and everything in between. So a teacher needs to assess what children already know, because it's frustrating to children who come in and the activities are geared toward a lower level, or they're geared too high. That can be frustrating to them. So you need to have the kinds of activities that are open-ended, that children of all abilities can participate in and be successful and enjoy, but also know what children you need to encourage because their developmental skills are a little bit lagging. And then also those gifted preschool age children who need to be encouraged and stimulated and offered opportunities to grow also. B is for books. Books, and more books are accessible to the children to read and to be enjoyed. You see in the photograph books down on the child's level. There should be books that children can access any time of the day during their free time to look at books. Yes, children are hard on books, but you have to teach them how to care for them, teach them not to walk on them, teach them how to turn the pages without tearing them. Not to color in them or write in them. Those are all things that preschool age children need to learn. We got a lot of our books through the library, Friends of the Library sale, and so those books were all in the hard copy with the extra heavy covers. And so those books can be put down and children can use those, and they're a lot more durable. And then the teacher kept some of the paperback books that she just read to the children and didn't put them out on the rack for the children to look at. But as you go and you look at schools, make sure that all the books are not put up for the teacher, that there are books out for the children. And also, as you plan bookmaking in kindergarten, one of the things we did with every theme and every letter that we studied is they made a book that they took home. And we read it, they made it, they read it together in class, and then they took it home. And when I say read, they looked at the pictures and we all said what the words said. A lot of the books just had one word on each page, but that's how children learn to read, is they learn that words and pictures go together. And so they were very proud of themselves when they could take their book home and read it to their parents. And at the beginning of the year, we made a milk carton jug that everybody took home, and that was their book, where they put their books when they got home. And so by the end of the year, they had a whole milk jug full of books that they could read that they had made. Letter C is for caring. A caring sense of community is evident in the classroom. If you're allowed to go observe when the children are there, you need to watch for the interaction between the teacher and the students. And if a child's upset about something, how does the teacher react? Is he or she caring and comforting to the child? Do they interact on the child's level? Do they touch appropriately? All those kinds of things are important. You want your child in a very caring environment. And C is also for creativity. Look for the activities that are open-ended, that children can be creative in building, in artwork, in music, in movement. As I go along, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and ask a question. Letter D is for developmentally appropriate. The focus of activities is on active learning rather than passive pencil and paper tasks. Age-related, hands-on, experiential, play-based learning is my definition of developmentally appropriate. This is a example of an activity that we did in kindergarten. When we got to letter C, we made colorful cars. These are just wood scraps from a construction site, milk lids or jar lids, baby food jar lids that they glued on, crayon melter we used to decorate our cars. And everybody made a car, and we had our car show in the hallway. And how much more meaningful is something like this for children to learn the sound of the letter C? They went home talking about their colorful cars and the sound that letter C makes, and means a whole lot more to them than just coloring a piece of paper that has a letter C and maybe pictures of things that start with C. E is for effective communication. Teachers communicate with students and parents in an unhurried, patient manner. I would use my poem, Just Playing, to help communicate early in the year the value of play to the parents, so that they would understand the things that we were doing and what their children were learning from that. So you should have attached to this presentation, I guess, I'm not sure exactly how it's attached, but anyway, this is a copy of my poem, Just Playing, and you can find it on my website if you don't have a copy of it, but I'm going to read it right now. Just Playing. When I'm building in the block room, please don't say I'm just playing, for you see I'm learning as I play about balance and shapes. Who knows, I may be an architect someday. When I'm getting all dressed up, setting the table, caring for the babies, don't get the idea I'm just playing, for you see I'm learning as I play. I may be a mother or a father someday. When you see me up to my elbows in paint, or standing at an easel, or molding and shaping the clay, please don't let me hear you say, she's just playing, for you see I'm learning as I play. I'm expressing myself and being creative. I may be an artist or an inventor someday. When you see me reading to an imaginary audience, please don't laugh and think I'm just playing, for you see I'm learning as I play. I may be a teacher someday. When you see me combing the bushes for bugs or packing my pockets with choice things I find, don't pass it off as just play, for you see I'm learning as I play. I may be a scientist someday. When you see me engrossed in a puzzle or some plaything at my school, please don't feel the time is wasted in play, for you see I'm learning as I play. I'm learning to solve problems and concentrate. I may be in business someday. When you see me cooking or tasting foods, please don't think that because I enjoy it, it's just play, for you see I'm learning as I play. I'm learning to follow directions and see differences. I may be a cook someday. When you see me learning to skip, hop, run, and move my body, please don't say I'm just playing, for you see I'm learning as I play. I'm learning how my body works. I may be a doctor, nurse, or an athlete someday. When you ask me what I did at school today, and I say, I just played, please don't misunderstand me, for you see I'm learning as I play. I'm learning to enjoy and be successful in my work. I'm preparing for tomorrow. Today, I am a child, and my work is play. The other poem that I used, when parents would come and push for academics, it was always a conversation that I would have with them, talking about readiness and when a child's ready to do different things and exposing them to things, but not pushing them into those. Just like I was discussing about reading. In my kindergarten class, a lot of children were reading at the end of the year, but back when I taught, that was not a goal. That was not something I was, as a teacher, expected that all my children would read by the time they got out of kindergarten. And I know in some programs that's changed now, but my goal was that all of the children knew the letters, knew the sounds, and were beginning to put words together, but not that they were fluent readers. And so some parents were comfortable with that. Some parents thought that they ought to be, drilled on sounds and phonics and doing a lot more paper and pencil kind of activities. And so the butterfly poem is the other one that was my favorite, that talks about pushing children. I remember one morning when I discovered a cocoon on the back of a tree, just as a butterfly was making a hole in the case and preparing to come out. I waited a while, but it was too long appearing, and I was impatient. I bent over it and breathed on it to warm it. I warmed it as quickly as I could, and the miracle began to happen before my eyes, faster than life. The case opened, the butterfly started slowly crawling out, and I shall never forget my horror when I saw how its wings were folded back and crumpled. The wretched butterfly tried with its whole trembling body to unfold them. Bending over it, I tried to help it with my breath, in vain. It needed to be hatched out patiently, and the unfolding of the wings should be a gradual process in the sun. Now it was too late. My breath had forced the butterfly to appear all crumpled before its time. It struggled desperately, and a few seconds later died in the palm of my hand. That little body is, I believe, the greatest weight I have on my conscience, for I realize today that it is a mortal sin to violate the great laws of nature. We should not hurry, we should not be impatient, but we should confidently obey the eternal rhythm. Letter F is for fun and friends. When you observe in a school, you want to make sure that the children look happy. They look like they're enjoying what they're doing and they're having fun, or they're not going to want to go to school and want to be there. It was always heartwarming to us when the children would get ready to leave and they would cry because they were leaving instead of crying when they were coming. And parents always remarked about that they never wanted to go home. So that always made us feel good that what we were doing was appropriate, the children were learning, they were enjoying it. And so that's your goal. You want to make sure that children have friends. Teachers can help that. They can of course, let children choose their friends, but offer activities where you're able to pair up a new child or a child that's kind of a loner with someone that they can become friends with. Children will tend to pick the same children to play with all the time, and so when you have a child that doesn't seem to be the one that gets picked, you want to make sure to include them in activities where they can interact with the other children. G is for goals, expectations set high, but with realistic and attainable goals. When you're talking with a director of a school, looking for a school, or if you are the director and you're getting ready to talk to parents, you need to have your goals defined. You need to know what things you want 3-year-olds to experience, what things you want 4-year-olds to experience, where you're going to start, where you're going to end the year, and kind of have a plan so that you can express that and you can see the children develop throughout the year. You want to make sure you're looking at their social skills, their emotional skills, their academics, their eye-hand coordination, their math, their reading, their creativity, and just giving experiences in all of those things. But having kind of a roadmap of where you're going to start, where you're going to end the year, and then where they're going to start when they're 4, and where they're going to end the year when they're 4, where they're going to start when they start kindergarten, and then where are they going to end. And then, as I said, you're going to have the kids that don't fit within those guidelines that you have to individualize. H is for helping. Children need to feel useful in the classroom. You want to look for helping charts where children have jobs to water the plants, feed the animals, be the line leader. If you're in a school setting, take the role down to the office. Different jobs that children can do. This helps them feel a part of the community of the classroom. It also helps them feel useful and important. And children need to have those kinds of responsibilities. Hugs need to be given appropriately. Children need to be touched. They need to be hugged. A child that doesn't like to be hugged, then you want to respect that and find other ways that you can touch and encourage them. But hugs are a part of young children's lives, and they need that sensory touch. I is for individual. Some rules are flexible to meet the individual needs. Again, you can observe this as you're watching a class. Does the teacher individualize? Does she help individual students with things that they need and encourage them? If a child comes in and is upset about something, does the teacher take time to figure out what's wrong, or if that child needs a little extra encouragement that day? To individualize, or if it's a special day, if it's a birthday, if it's something special has happened, a new baby's been born in the family, taking time to individualize with that child and help them feel special. And then learning needs to be integrated. This picture is of a group of preschoolers playing with Play-Doh at a table. And in the orange box, I've listed the different kinds of learning that's going on from that one simple activity. Sensory, they're touching the Play-Doh, they're feeling it, they're smelling it, they're looking at it, they're looking at the different shapes, and and they're listening to the other children at the table. They're also with their fine motor skills. They're rolling out the Play-Doh. They're gaining strength in their hands that they're going to need to hold a pencil. They're patting it down. They're rolling it. They're cutting it. They're using the shapes to print on it. As far as math, they're learning these shapes. All of these little round things were cookie cutter kind of shapes where they could press those or cut those into the Play-Doh. They're learning the colors. They're learning the shapes, which is a math skill. And then they're visiting. They're talking to each other. They're talking about what they're doing. They're talking about maybe mom making cookies, that they're pretending to make cookies, or they're making bread, or they're making pizza, or whatever they're making. And you can see this little girl has turned and is talking to the other people, other children at the table. So that's how preschool children learn, is their learning is integrated into their play in that way. J is for joy. Children are observed smiling and laughing. This happens to be my youngest child, my daughter. I was lucky enough to be her kindergarten teacher, so this was our last day of school picnic at the park. And you can see that, it's a joyful kind of time. And children, if they are learning and they're comfortable, they're going to be smiling, they're going to be laughing. K is for kindness. Children need to be taught to use kind hands and kind words. That needs to be modeled for them through the adults and the teachers in their lives. And then lots of love expressed throughout the day and the time that they're in the classroom. M is for music and math. I play the piano, and so I always had a piano in my classroom. The years that I wasn't teaching, was just directing, I would do sing along with each one of the classes once a week. We always had music that went along with the letter we were studying, the theme we were talking about. This happens to be Halloween. As you can see, everybody's in costume, including me, and we were singing a song about costumes. And so each child came up and we sang about their costume. Children learn vocabulary from music. They learn rhythm, which helps them learn to read. They learn about culture, all kinds of things that they can learn from music. They learn listening skills. They listen to different instruments. They learn about high notes and low notes and loud noises and soft noises, all different kinds of things that they learn. And the children went home knowing over 100 different songs when the end of their preschool year they had learned, and all of that vocabulary and language that went along with it. Math needs to be a part of every day. We started every day with calendar, talked about the day of the week, the number, the month, the weather, sometimes the temperature. In kindergarten, we talked about how warm or cold it was that day. We had a timeline where we counted off the days of school and celebrated our 100th day of school. You can talk about, as the children move around the classroom, you talk about first and last and more and less and larger and smaller, and you measure things. All of these things are math ideas and vocabulary that are appropriate for young children, so that they begin to learn those and use those in their vocabulary, so that then when they get into elementary school and they start doing math, those are familiar to them. They know when you say which number is more, 5 or 6, they understand, more, and they understand less. So that's laying the foundation for those skills that are coming. N is for needs. Again, you need to individualize. Different children have different needs. As you can see, this little boy's body language, he's a little bit nervous about being up in front of the class. He wants to be there and show his mask and his Spider-Man costume, but he feels more comfortable with his arms folded to be safe up in front of the class. And so you allow for those kinds of differences and those needs. If a child doesn't feel comfortable coming up and would rather just sit, then you sing about their costume while they're sitting on the floor. You don't force them to come up. N is also for newsletters. That's another way to communicate with the parents, the grandparents, or whoever the child lives with, so that they understand what's going on at school, what the children are learning. They can help collect things that you need for art activities or science activities and send those to school. And they know when there are field trips coming up, etc. O is for opportunities. One of the main purposes of early childhood education is to provide experiences that the child would not normally have access to at home. So in Oklahoma City, there's the OSU Extension Center, and I don't know if they still do it, but during the time that we had our program, they would let you borrow an incubator, and they would give you quail eggs to hatch out and on loan. And so we did that. Of course, the children loved watching the quail hatch out. We, of course, counted the eggs, talked about how they were different, how they were alike, counted as the quail were hatching. Of course, they all got names, and then as soon as they were up and getting pretty big and active, then we took them back, and they would release them into the wild then. So that was just an activity that children loved. Sometimes a child would just stand and look in the window of the incubator just for long periods of time, just watching those eggs to see if anything was going to happen. The other thing that when we had our preschool, it was kind of in a new open area, and there weren't a lot of high wires or trees around, and so we had a parent that was a hot air balloonist, and so he flew in and landed his hot air balloon on the parking lot, and the kids got to come up close and see what a hot air balloon looks like up close. And of course, that kind of experience stays with children for a very long time. They talk about it, they draw pictures, they paint pictures about it. And so P is for parents. Having parents involved in your school gives you those opportunities to find out what their hobbies are, what they do for a job, and bring them into the school to share with the children, so that they can get those firsthand experiences. And it makes the child whose parent or grandparent has come feel very special, that they're involved in their school and how important it is to them. And maybe their parents can only come and read a book, or maybe they can help on a field trip. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to go there yet. But you can get them involved some way. Maybe they can't come at all. Maybe they can only, make cookies or send something for a party, but still they're a part and they're supporting the school, and the child knows that. Discipline should be positive. Positive attitudes and reinforcement are used. You talk about the children that are doing what you want them to do, and give them the attention, and a lot of the negative behavior will go away. If you say, I like the way Jay is sitting on the floor with his hands in his lap, then everybody's going to look at Jay and want to do what Jay's doing. And so rather than pointing out the children who are not doing what you want them to do, focus on the positive, focus on and move along, and don't wait for everybody to be doing, if most of the class is doing the right thing and getting ready for story time or whatever you're doing, then go ahead, and the other children will join in. Then usually they see what's going on and they get involved too. And then of course play. They need to have uninterrupted times of play every day. Children need blocks of time to play and to plan what they're doing. They should not be entertained every minute. I'm very concerned about the amount of time that young children spend on electronic devices. This is entertainment for them. It's not active. They're not having to do anything, maybe except push a button. And that's not going to help their fine motor skills. It's not going to help them learn to interact with other children. It's not creative, and children need to play. They need to play and construct things and build things and change things. Q is for quiet. Children need time to be quiet and reflect, but too much quiet is inappropriate for this age. If you go into a school setting to observe and the children are all at a table and everybody's quiet, you need to start asking some questions. And is this just a special time that they're doing this, or how much time are the children expected to sit at a table and be quiet? Because that's just not normal for young children. They learn by moving and doing and touching and talking. They learn auditory, they learn sensory, they learn visually, but they also learn by moving. And so if they're sitting and having to be still too much of the time, they're not learning. And some children, that's their predominant way that they learn, is to move. So if you require them to sit still a majority of the time that they're at the school, they're not going to be learning like they should be. You also want to encourage questions. You're going to get lots of why questions in the preschool years, and as much as possible you need to answer those questions of why. Give them some reasons, and it's okay to say I don't know, and I'll try to find out the answers to that if it's a question that you don't know. And children value that teachers are learning too, and we need to model for them that we are lifelong learners too, and we don't have all the answers all the time. R is for remember. Help children review their activities and reflect on their accomplishments. Remember what we did yesterday. Talk about those things. Help them to remember. Relax when they're stressed. Respect others, and read when they're ready. And S is for share. I always, at the end of the year, had a program. It was not a professional performance. It was always done by the children with just things that we had done in the classroom. The picture at the top is one of my kindergarten programs. And in the 4 years I taught kindergarten, every program was different. We did a Christmas program. We did a Thanksgiving program. We did this program that was on the Olympics. It was an Olympic year. And so we did it in the spring. It was kind of patriotic and Olympic, and we did some tumbling and some music. This was a parachute song that we did. But it's a time for parents to see all the things that children have learned. The children do all of the decorations, and on the right are some programs for some of the programs that we had at the preschool at the end of the year. We would pull it off with just one practice every year. We would go on the day of the program out to the auditorium where we were going to have the program, and the children would get to practice on the stage one time. And then the rest of the time we just practiced our songs at school. And as I said, it was not a perfect performance, but it was a great time for the parents and the grandparents to come and see the kids and see their friends and celebrate the year. T is for timeout. Timeout allows a child time to make choices and control their behavior. I use timeout in kindergarten and in our preschool program to help children think about what they had done if they had done something that was inappropriate. And then I would go over to them and talk about, are you ready to get up, and what are the choices you're going to make now? And then help them get involved in something that would keep them out of trouble. T is also for teachers. Look for signs that the teachers love their jobs, their facial expression and the appearance of the room, the tone of voice they use with speaking to children. Do they get down on the child's level and get eye to eye when they're talking to the children? That's very important. U is for unbelievable. Unbelievable how busy children are in an appropriate environment. You need to see children moving. You need to see children engaged in what they're doing. They need uninterrupted blocks of time in their schedule where they can be relaxed and uninterrupted in their work and their play. V is for volunteers. Volunteers should be welcomed but always supervised in the classroom. Visitors should be welcomed to the school and unannounced as best if possible. I know in this day and time things have changed from back in the 90s when I had my school, but I still would encourage you to try to go visit a school, you probably will have to have an appointment and not be able to just walk in and look around. But still, it's important to see the program, to see the teachers, and not and assess whether you think that you're being a show is being put on for you, or if this is the way school is all the time. And that's what you want to know, is what's going to happen when you leave your child at the door, and is it going to be the same as what you saw, or is it going to be different? Volunteers in the classroom. I always had volunteers. I always had parents in my classroom. With this age child, you just need those extra hands. And if parents are willing to do it, I always did a training with them, but it was important to have those extra hands, not just on field trips or party days, but throughout the rest of the time too, so that you could do the cooking activities, you can do the art activities, you can do a lot of those hands-on things that you need someone close by, and you can't spread yourself that thin. W is for willingness. Students and teachers exhibit a willingness to learn and be taught. Lifelong learning is modeled for students. It was always important to me that if I felt like I knew my child best, and if my child was upset about something at school, I would go and talk with the teacher about it. And it was always encouraging when the teacher was willing to listen to my point of view and say, oh, well, maybe we should try that, or maybe we should do that a little differently, or maybe I should let your child do this or that, instead of this. And so that always encouraged me as a parent, that the teacher was willing to learn and to make some changes. And young children want to learn, and so their willingness to learn, you may get one that you think doesn't want to learn, but you just have to keep searching for the thing that really turns them on, that lights their light bulb and gets them excited. X is for excellent equipment and materials. These two pictures, the reason I chose them very early in my school, this wooden ladder box, we bought the first year of the school, well, actually the second year. First year we were in our new building. And the outdoor climber we bought very soon after that. They're expensive, they're high quality equipment, but they last. And this ladder box, after 25 years of kids crawling all over it, the only thing we'd had to replace were some of the rungs in the ladder on the rope ladder. But it was in as good a shape the day I sold my school as it was the day I bought it. Same thing with the outdoor equipment that we bought. We bought quality things, we took care of them, but they lasted. And again, we got a good portion of the money back out of them 25 years after we had bought them. And so if at all possible, it's important to buy good, sturdy, strong equipment, even though it is expensive. Y stands for your child. It's your child, and you should make this important decision. You should be the one that decides where they go to school, what their environment is going to be during these very, very important early years. This happens to be an ice cream sundae day with moms at the preschool, where the moms and the siblings were invited to come have ice cream sundaes with their children. And then Z's, teachers and parents need them, and so do children. You need to be rested. Teaching preschool age children and young children is not easy work. I always laughed when I heard that an upper level elementary teacher was going to move down and teach kindergarten their last few years before they retired, because it was going to be easy. I thought that was kind of a joke, because it's not easy. It is hard work. It zaps your energy, but it can be a very rewarding experience, and if you love children like I do. And finally, it's my belief that if young children are provided a loving environment, a teacher who accepts, values, and understands them, their differences and their developmental levels, provides excellent books, toys, games, experiences, and equipment, proper supervision, planning, and direction, that they will learn to love learning in school and will be prepared for a successful educational future. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
If you want to type in the chat or if you want to come online, we are happy to have just a conversation right now. If you need to go, that concludes it. But Anita has so much experience and has done so many different things. If you want to come online and ask her something, we would love to hear from you.